Hi everybody and welcome back to the Tasting Room. Today, as promised, I thought we'd finish up the second part of our Empties video, first part of which we filmed a couple weeks ago. So without further ado, we'll just jump right into it. Alright, first one up is a Scotch whiskey here. This is the Dalmore 12 year. Very good. Probably one of the best starter Scotch whiskeys in my opinion here. This one's got some real heavy sherried notes, just nice and fruity. A little bit overpriced these days, in my opinion. Just complexity versus versus what you're getting in the bottle. It used to be about a $35, maybe a $40 whiskey. They're looking at charging about $50, $55 these days. So, as with anything, price is rising, but it remains a very good whiskey. All right, second one up is a bourbon. Reviewed this a while back. This is George Remus. This is one I actually got a chance to try in my local liquor store before I purchased it. It was, they had this one and then they had the higher end version, and I actually ended up liking this one better, so this is the one I ended up purchasing and reviewing. It turned out to be a very enjoyable bourbon. I would definitely repurchase this one. Probably will at some point in the future. It's not, maybe not one that's in my top 10 or 15, but definitely one that delivered on, more than I was expecting. Another bourbon whiskey here. This is Wild Turkey, of course. Normally I'll go for the 101 when the standard Wild Turkey is just a good all-around bourbon. It's kind of the Sauza Hornitos of bourbon. For me, it's just, it's good for sipping. It's good for mixing. For me, with Wild Turkey, I'll make a lot of mixed drinks. But yeah, at this particular time, I was looking for a whiskey to make a mixed drink with, and they didn't actually have the 101 at the liquor store I was at, so I picked up the 80 proof as well. I'm sorry, 81 proof. Pardon me. Definitely not as good. I tend to favor the higher proofs, just a fuller flavor for me, but yeah, it's okay. Okay, we had a couple of cognacs as well. Went through a bottle of Remy Martin VSOP. I go through a couple of bottles of cognac every winter. The winter is just a good season for a cognac. It's nice and warming, and especially in the Chicagoland area where it can get kind of cold during the winter. Though it didn't get too cold this winter, but you're outside shoveling in the snow and the cold and the wind. And you come back in and you just want something to warm you up. And cognac just does the trick. This Remy Martin VSOP, always been very good to me. Just one of your good standby cognacs. One I've obviously repurchased over and over again. And then the other one we had was a new one to me. It was Pierre Ferrand. This is the Ambre, which is, I'm assuming, how you pronounce amber in French. A buddy of mine actually turned me onto the Pierre Ferrand line. I had never tried it before, and he was one that had always gone for the Remy VSOP as well. And then told me that when he found this one, he had never gone back from it. So I took his word. I gave it a try, and I loved it. This is actually a very, very good brand. I'll definitely be looking for more cognacs by this brand. I know there's a bunch of them out there. So keep an eye open next fall or winter for another Pierre Ferrand review. All right, we took down a couple of gins this season. Here's one from Illinois. This is from Lake Zurich, Illinois. Pardon me. This one's called Copper Fiddle. just one I found in a local liquor store when I was just looking for a different gin to try. Never actually, I don't believe I actually got around to reviewing this one. Uh, but it was fair. I mean, it was again not one of my top 5 or 10 gins of all time, but one that I would probably repurchase and review. I mean, it definitely didn't turn me off in any way. I finished this bottle a while back, but remembering back on it, it had some nice flavor, good clean finish. I liked it. Now, another gin that I didn't actually get a chance to review, I picked up. This is the Sipsmith. It's a London gin, and I didn't have anything else around at the time. This one I was keeping at my girlfriend's house. Just had picked up from a local liquor store out there, and I really couldn't find anything new that I wanted. I was just looking for something different than the old standbys. You know, I always go for the Bombay or the Botanist or the St. George, and sometimes I'm just looking for something different, and and hoping that'll stand out to me. I didn't think too much of this one. You know, they had a little card on here with a bunch of medals and awards that this gin has won, and I'll just say I'm not in agreement. I didn't think too much of it. Most of this gin went into a gin and tonic. I made one martini with it, and I just didn't care for the flavor. I don't know if I'll ever actually review this one because it would require me to purchase an entire new bottle of it. So take that for what it's worth. I went through a bottle. I didn't care for it. I'm not going to buy it again. Okay, yet another gin. This one here is the Bombay Sapphire East. Now, I don't normally buy this one because the normal Bombay Sapphire, you'll have the fifth of it that goes for about $22. The East will go for about the same price, and then I've never seen the 1.5 liter bottle, but in the Sapphire East, but they always carry it in the regular Sapphire, and that one usually goes for about $29. So I mean, I have a hard time justifying buying a fifth of a gin when I can buy a liter more of it for just a few more dollars. So I'll usually never buy a fifth of the Bombay Sapphire, but the East here must have been on sale one day, so I picked it up. You know, I've had this a couple of times in the past, and I like it. It's like your normal Bombay Sapphire, which is a great gin. It just has a few more botanicals thrown in here and there, so it just gives a little bit fuller flavor. So it's very nice. I like it. I'll definitely repurchase it if it comes on sale, or if they come out with the well, I'm sure they have it somewhere. I just have never seen it, but the 1.5 liter bottle for a similar price to the other one, then I'll definitely start purchasing that. Okay, the last gin I have here is one of my all-time favorites. This is the Botanist. This one is actually made on the Isle of Islay by the Bruichladdich Distillery in Scotland. I don't know of too many Scottish gins, but this one is fantastic. Now, I've said this before. Most gins will have like 8 or 9, maybe 11 botanicals. This one actually has 30, 22 of which come from the Isle of Islay, where the distillery is located. Just packed with flavor, this gin. Just a fantastic gin. Again, this one and the St. George Botanivore are just my top 2 gins of all time. We'll definitely repurchase this. It's about you can usually find it on sale for between $30 and $40. You know, maybe about $34 if I'm remembering correctly. But just a good one to have on hand if you're looking for just a fantastic martini gin. or just a drink neat, which is pretty close to what my martinis are. Just a fantastic gin. Okay, back across the pond to America for a minute here. We have a rye whiskey. This is Corsair's Rye-mageddon. I've had a number of whiskeys by Corsair, and to an extent, I've liked them all. This Rye-mageddon here was very, very good. Maybe one of my favorite ryes. I suppose I've said that about a lot of rye, but this one itself is very unique. It's 92 proof, and it's distilled from malted rye and chocolate rye. Now, you really can taste that chocolate in the flavor profile of this whiskey here. It's just, again, it's very unique, very flavorful. To the question of whether or not I'd repurchase it, I already have. I'm halfway through another bottle. Just a wonderful, wonderful rye. I definitely recommend if you're new to Corsair and you're looking for a good rye whiskey, give this one a shot. The other one I like by them is the Triple Smoke. I haven't had that one in a long while, but and I've also had their Oat Rage. I haven't reviewed the Oat Rage, but just tried that one in the store, and it was again these guys make some very unique whiskeys, and not in a bad way either. They do a nice job. Hey, next we have a bottle of the George Dickel Sour Mash whiskey. This one was hand selected by a local liquor store of mine around here. I don't know if it says how many barrels they made. This is it was aged for 9 years. This was a 2013, so made this bottle last a good long time. But yeah, it was a very good whiskey. I mean, George Dickel makes some. They make some good standby whiskeys, and then some nice sipping whiskeys as well. I mean, good solid Tennessee whiskey. Alright, the next one we have here, and the last one from America, is a bottle of Eagle Rare, made in Kentucky by the Buffalo Trace Distillery. Same mash bill, actually, as the Buffalo Trace whiskey, just aged for a longer period of time in the lower levels of the rick house. If you haven't heard about Eagle Rare, then you probably are pretty new to the bourbon world. Popular name, good standby whiskey. Nothing more to say about that. Yes, will I repurchase it? Absolutely. Alright, the next one we have here is a Scotch whiskey. This is a Springbank 10-year-old. This one's from Campbelltown. Now, I was just introduced this year to Springbank whiskeys, and this is it's the only one I've had so far. But I was blown away by this whiskey. Excuse me. Just such a complex flavor profile. Very excited to try some of the older expressions of this one. I think the 10-year is probably the youngest that I've seen bottled. But yeah, I mean, I would certainly repurchase the 10-year-old, and I'll be looking for the 15 and the 18 in some of the years to come. All right, and finally, St. Paddy's Day is right around the corner. Let's finish up with some Irish whiskey. First one we have here is the Connemara. This is the cask strength. Now, Connemara is known to be one of the only heavily peated Irish whiskeys, so you really get that smokiness, that peatiness there in the flavor profile. And this one, being the cask strength, was 57.9% alcohol, so this one really packed a punch. Great whiskey. Again, I've early on, before I was drinking the peated Scotch whiskeys, one of the first ones I had was with Pete. One of the first whiskeys I had with Pete was a Connemara. It wasn't the cask strength. It was a regular 12-year-old. But boy, I remember I just hated it. I couldn't stand that peat moss. But now I can't get enough of it. So I mean, if you've tried this one in the past and you don't like it, just palates change, palates develop. Maybe give it a shot at some point in the future after you've introduced yourself to a few more Scotch whiskies. Again, this is an Irish, but one of the best makes of Irish whiskey. I mean, if you're looking for that heavy peated profile, just fantastic. All right, and then to finish up here, just finished this one the other day. This bottle here, this is the Teeling Single Malt Irish whiskey. Now, I believe this is a relatively young distillery. They say they've been making whiskey since 1782, but I think a lot of them, the old family recipes that have been passed down through generations. I don't recall seeing this one on the shelf a decade ago, so I mean, I can do some research and figure out when this distillery actually started bottling, but. I mean, they've got a few expressions out. They've got the single malt, the single grain, their original, and then they've got a new one out, a single pot still. I've tried them all, and this one's unquestionably my favorite. It's something in the way that they finish this whiskey. And I know I outlined it in my review. I'll try to link that above here. But just a phenomenal flavor profile. I've got a few favorite Irish whiskeys. There's not a whole bunch that I really can stand behind, but the Teeling Single Malt, the Green Spot, and the Connemara are just some of the Irish whiskeys that stand above the rest, in my opinion. Now, I mean, Irish whiskey by nature is triple distilled, and I think that personally, I think that takes something away from the flavor of the whiskey. So you have to do something with that whiskey. I mean, you have your standards like your Bushmills and your Jameson that just, to me, they just don't taste like much. You know, I mean, you have to cask finish it, or you have to dry the barley with some peat moss, like Connemara does, to enhance the flavor of that whiskey. And you know, I think these three brands that I've outlined, that they've done that. They've enhanced the flavor of this whiskey, and to me, that's what sets them apart. Alright, so that is all. That is all the empty bottles I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm certainly going to enjoy taking these 30-something empty bottles out to the recycle bin and finally clearing my house of them. If you do enjoy these videos, please let me know. Give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Of course, if you're not already a member of my channel, hit that button and subscribe. And then after you do, make sure you ding that little bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you get notifications of new videos that come out. New videos come out on the weekends, and I would hate for you to miss one. So go ahead and do that for me, and I will see you again next week, right here on The Tasting Room.